welcome to the program. My name's Irene. By now, you've probably either met me or talked to me, or at least have texted me. I wanted to put out this very first presentation to talk to you about the perfect plate. So if you have not gotten your calorie amount, make sure that you have signed up for FitnessPal and you have downloaded the app and that you have sent me what the caloric amount is that the app has given you for final approval. And again, this is all on the onboarding guide. The checkpoints are there for you. So make sure that you've done all of that and that you've received your meal plan. At this point, you should have received your meal plan. And if you have not, then you definitely want to do that before you watch this video. All right, so as far as the meal plan goes, you've been given the month one meal plan. And in that meal plan, you can see that you've gotten some recipe ideas for breakfast, for lunches, for snacks, for dinners, and for desserts. Obviously, the more and the closer that you stick to the exact recipes, the higher your success rate is going to be. Just like it says in the onboarding guide, members that deviate from the recipes tend to not see as high of a success rate. And it is because of user error. It's not because the recipes are magically composed. They are magically composed, but what happens when people tend to deviate away from the actual ingredients is they tend to make mistakes. And so I've put together this presentation to teach you what is so perfect about the recipes that I've put together so that you can compose your own if you needed to make your own. And if you haven't watched the 15-minute video on essential ingredients, definitely take a look at that because that is one that will absolutely help enhance your experience as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to share my screen. Perfect plates, Getufit, the must-haves for metabolic enhancement. All right, so first of all, a calorie is not just a calorie. We are so programmed to believe that it is calories in, calories out. And there is a lot of truth to that, but please do not just focus on the amount of calories that you're taking in. That is the biggest mistake that people make when they initially sign up. It is not just about following that magical number. We grew up with this pyramid. This is the traditional food pyramid. And yes, it will fall into play somewhat, but what you want to pay more attention to is what I call the Getufit trifecta. And it's a balancing act, but I assure you, I have worked with thousands and it will become second nature for you. First off, buzzwords can be extremely dangerous. The first thing that I want to teach you is to always read the labels. This is a pet peeve of mine. I'm going to talk about this a lot during our time together. However, if you are focused on buzzwords, you are not going to lose weight. It's just going to be the opposite. You are going to be frustrated. You are going to be misled. And these words are not going to serve a purpose. So please do not think that if you see fat-free, sugar-free, immune support, gluten-free, heart-healthy, low sugar, that is serving a purpose. Okay, so keep your eye on the label. First off, you'll be hearing me refer to things such as essential ingredients and non-essential ingredients. In fact, there's a chart in your onboarding guide that breaks down essentials and non-essentials, okay? I always want you to keep an eye on the serving size and also the calories. Of course, we are going to pay attention to the fats, to the sodiums, the carbs, the proteins. But eye on the calories and the serving size. So, you ready for the bad news? Macro confusion. Probably by now, all of you have asked what your macros should be set at. And in the guide, I flat out have said to set them at a certain amount just to have a holding point, but we are not paying attention to macros. There is no scientific evidence that shows where people should fall for macros. For weight loss, you could be anywhere between needing 20% protein all the way up to 50% protein. We don't know where you need to fall. And furthermore, percentages are very inaccurate because just like when you would take a test in 5th grade, and you would miss 1 out of 5, it's skewed inaccurately. So when we do learn about macros and how to implement them much, much later into the 3rd month, we learn macros by the gram and not by the percentage, because in that way we actually have an idea of a value that we get. So realistic, sustainable expectations. We have the must-haves, the essentials. And as you can see here, all 3 of these meals have the must-haves, the essentials. You might not think so by looking at them, but they're all there. So I want to address that. The rice and meatballs here, believe it or not, the rice is the carb. The meatballs have the ground beef, which is the protein, and the egg, which is going to serve as not only the protein, but also the healthy fat and the olive oil. So this has all 3, the trifecta. This middle dinner here has pork as the protein, the rice is the carb, and the sesame seeds that you see on top here with the olive oil that was used to prepare it is the fat. Now, we will get into the amounts that you need, but as you can see, it is perfectly proportioned. And then finally here, this last meal, we have an egg with the yolk, which serves as the fat protein. We have the sweet potato, which is the carb. And then obviously we have some vegetables, which also fall into the carb. So all of these meals qualify as being Getufit safe. All right, so the plans are all built this way. You don't need to worry about anything with the plans. If you're eating off the plan, you don't need to worry about adding anything. This is a huge misconception that people make when they are pulling things off of the meal plan. They think that they have to add things. I get this all the time. While I'm eating this salad, I don't see the carb. Well, I have it built in, and if it's not there for month 1, you don't need to worry about it. So just eat off the plan. If you are making your own meal, you need to make sure that you have the trifecta there. So if you're going to make your own yogurt dish, and you are going to use yogurt and strawberries, make sure that you add healthy fat. And yogurt, although it has fat, it does not have a healthy fat. Yogurt fat is the animal fat that comes from the milk, and that does not count as a healthy fat. And so that's where you want to look at your chart, and this is something that we're all going to learn. All right, so essential ingredients must be present at all times. So in addition to staying within your calories, you want to also try to stay within this range. So for your protein, you want to be 20 to 30 per meal. And I'm very passionate about saying not to get number crazy. So if you're at 18 for a meal or at 32 for a meal, you don't need to start pulling, pieces of chicken out of your salad. This is a range. And then obviously for snack, 12 to 15. These are your animal sources for protein, and these are your plant sources for protein. Now, one thing I do want to point out, and this is super important, is the following things that just got an X put over them. The nuts, nut butter, seeds, I don't count as a protein source. These will fall into a fat source. Now, you are getting some protein from it, but since you need 20 to 30 grams of protein for a meal, it would take an awful lot of seeds and nuts and nut butter to accumulate 20 to 30 grams. And it would put you way over your calories. So you shouldn't depend on nuts and seeds as your protein. So as unfortunate as it sounds, making a peanut butter sandwich and counting that peanut butter as your protein. If you made a peanut butter sandwich and you used 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, that would only give you about 8 grams of protein. It would give you 16 grams of fat, which would qualify the fat source, but it's not enough protein. And that's why this is not, these are not in this category, okay? All right, so healthy fats. Healthy fats are the monosaturated fats. There's polysaturated fats, there's saturated fats. Monosaturated fats do not coagulate. They're the only ones that don't coagulate. If you think about all the other fat sources, if you put them in the refrigerator, they will gelify, they'll coagulate. So these here, that's how you can remember, don't coagulate. So most of them do come from a plant source. The only exceptions to that are the eggs, and there is one on here that is not on here, and that is salmon. But if you consider the fact that the egg yolk and the salmon oil don't coagulate, that fits in that category. So you need to have 10 to 15 grams of healthy fat in each meal, 8 to 10 in each snack. So just like I said with the peanut butter, that would qualify as a healthy source, but not as your protein. Now, as far as the egg goes, and as far as the salmon goes, those are your 2 exceptions where if you have salmon, that counts as both. You actually could take 4 ounces of salmon and count the protein and the fat because it actually has both amounts. Same thing with the egg, okay? So definitely know that these all have protein, but they count towards your fat goal, okay? We'll be talking more about this as well. And yes, you want to have this in every meal. Do not be afraid of it. That we're a fat-phobic, carb-phobic society. This will keep you from losing weight if you try to omit it. Okay, and you don't need a lot. 1 tablespoon. Okay. All right. So now these are the saturated fats. These are the ones you want to stay away from. The animal fats, the ones that are found in your meats, butters, dairy products. Again, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, cheeses. Those are all saturated. You can have them, but they don't count toward your fat goal. They will turn solid in room temperature. These are the ones that are going to increase your bad cholesterol. So if you do have to watch your cholesterol, you should stay away from these anyways. And these are the ones that clog your arteries. And if you think about it, they solidify in room temperature, and that is what is going to clog your arteries, okay? Then we have unsaturated fats. And so the unsaturated fats are actually healthy, but I still don't want this being counted toward your healthy fat. Again, you can have them, but for weight loss and metabolic enhancement, you want to use saturated. So these would be your vegetable oils, and you know, some of these other ones are kind of like in between. A lot of your vegetable oils are going to fall in this category. So stick to the saturated. So non-essential ingredients. You can enjoy them in moderation, but the best part of this is you can omit them and use the calories later. So what do I mean by that? You can omit them. Well, if you watch that first video, uh, essential ingredients, anytime on your meal plan you come across a recipe that has a non-essential ingredient, and butter, cheese, fruit, those are all non-essentials. They don't fall into any of the categories. They're there for fun, that actually make our food exciting and pleasant. But you might not want them. You might not need them. They're extra calories. And literally, when I say you can trim the fat off your meal by trimming the fat off of your plan, reducing the calories off your plate by omitting the cheese, omitting any butter, omitting any extra salad dressings. Um, you can use those calories later for whatever you want. So let me give you an example. If we go back to that plan early on, let's see, I actually have some plans right here. So if I go back to one of the meal plans here and I pull out a recipe that has some fruit, and I know you can't really read this, but you could see it. In this recipe, I have almond milk or milk of choice. I have protein powder, so that's my protein source. I have raspberries, which those are delicious and nutritious, and they provide vitamins and minerals, but they aren't an essential source. And I have my chia seeds, and those fall into the fat category. I could omit the berries from this. Now, if I do that, I'm going to have about 80 extra calories floating around in my day. I can use those 80 calories for a glass of wine later and for a scoop of ice cream. I could also, instead of using berries, I could put cherries on this. I could put blueberries or apples or pears on this because it's a non-essential. Um, I shouldn't take out the protein powder. That is an essential. I shouldn't take out the um, chia seeds because that is an essential. I could substitute them for another one of the same value, but I shouldn't omit them because then I won't have my trifecta. Okay? All right, so let's talk about carbs. First off, carbs aren't bad. Too many carbs are bad. We have about 20 to 30 per meal and about 10 to 15 per snack. Sugar is what you have to be careful for. Sugar is what is going to cause us to gain weight. So we have two different types of carbs. We have our good carbs, which are recommended, and we have our bad carbs, which are not. We have our complex carbs, which are in the green category. They're harder to digest, which means they actually take your body longer to digest. I shouldn't say that they're hard to digest. They burn calories while you are digesting. They help keep you full longer. It's a slow and steady flow of energy. There's natural sugars in the good carbs. It doesn't necessarily spike your blood sugar level. Good carbs have a low glycemic index, and they help you lose fat. So the bad carbs are easy to digest, which means your body blows through them very, very fastly. Um, you don't burn calories when you eat them and when you digest them. You are hungry almost immediately after eating them because typically there's no nutritional value in them. You will get a sudden burst of energy, but then you're going to crash also. So it's a quick fix with a not so good ending. They're usually processed and contain a lot of sugar. Your blood sugar is going to spike, level, and then very fast, quickly drop. And again, there's going to be a high glycemic index, but most importantly, bad carbs are going to store as fat. And this is not recommended. So here is an example of blood glucose levels after eating something that has a high glycemic index and another one that has low. Now I'm going to give you an example. Honey. Honey and agave look exactly the same. Side by side, calorie for calorie, they're parallel. You're not saving any calories by using agave over honey. If you're vegan, vegans do not use honey because it is technically an animal byproduct. So that would be an advantage. Agave is a little easier to manipulate. It's not as runny. It's definitely less expensive, so there's a lot of benefits there. But as far as the GI index, this is the exact difference between the honey, which if you eat honey, it's going to spike your blood sugar, and if you eat agave. Now, what happens when your blood sugar spikes? When your blood sugar spikes, well, first off, if you are insulin resistant, there's going to be a lot of issues that are going to occur, and one of them is going to be weight gain. If you are diabetic, it's going to set you off into all sorts of possible issues. But if you are somebody that is overeating foods that have high GI, your body is going to store this all as fat. It is literally like taking water and filling up a flower pot that doesn't need to be watered, and the water is just overflowing. And that overflow is basically an accumulation of body fat. So having a lower GI index is going to keep things steady and smooth. And so therefore, picking fruits and vegetables that have a lower GI is going to be better for you in the long run. And so the complex carbs and the carbs that you see on your meal plan are complex. And here are some examples of them. And if you review your plan, you'll see that most of them are complex. And nonetheless, don't be afraid of carbs, because also the carbs that you do see on your meal plan contain fiber, and the fiber is going to counteract the sugar index as well. And here are the bad carbs that you need to stay away from. All right, so fruit. Let's talk about fruit. Fruit is nature's candy. And this could be a very slippery slope. And you noticed that on your meal plan there is fruit, but you do need to be very careful with the amount of fruit that you eat. Now, from individual to individual, this is going to differ. If you are diabetic, if you have a lot of weight to lose, if you are somebody that eats fruits nonstop, I'm going to tell you that this is not going to be in your best interest. Fruit should be paired with a protein, and a fat. Fruit is going to be your carb for the meal. So be really, really careful if you're going to make something and compile a lot of fruit in it. You'll notice that there are some meals on your plan that do have fruit, but a lot of them always contain a yogurt or a protein. The oatmeal does contain the carbohydrate, but it has also fruit. But if you notice, it has the nuts, the flax seeds, and the protein. So you're not just eating straight fruit. And I always have to tell my bowl of cherries story. So bowl of cherries, when I was training the fire department in Huntley, I stopped off at Aldi, starving on the way home. So I grabbed a bag of cherries, rinsed them off, and I was just going to snack on them on the way home. So I'm eating the cherries, and they were a great thing. And I knew better because I'm eating them themselves. So I'm eating straight sugar. And I always like to do these little experiments on myself. So I right away knew that if I didn't count the amount of cherries that I was going to overeat them. So 25-minute ride home, I ended up overeating the cherries. So when I got home, I had a cup of pits, and I decided to count the pits. Then I decided to take that many cherries that I had eaten and put them on the food scale to see how much sugar I had taken in. You ready? Although I had only eaten 200 calories of cherries, and that was worth every bit of it. And I had consumed an amazing amount of vitamin C and all these great nutrients. I had consumed 52 carbohydrates, 32 of which were sugar, and only 2 with fiber. So this is not a good fruit to have, unfortunately, or you shouldn't eat a lot of it. And I want to say that I had 40 cherries, maybe. I don't remember all the way, but nonetheless, this isn't the worst news. The worst news of this is because I love Snicker bars, and I traditionally always eat a Snicker bar before I run a marathon because I need that sugar boost. I need that quick energy. I know that in one Snicker bar is 250 calories and 22 grams of sugar. So this is a perfect example of how the cherries had more sugar than a candy bar. And granted, yes, I realized I was getting vitamins, I was getting minerals, I was getting definitely a lot more nutrition. However, it's really easy to overeat fruit when we have the mindset that it's healthy. And I have the very same example with watermelon. I came home from a 20-mile run once, a training run in August, and cut open watermelon, and I ate exactly this wedge here of a seedless watermelon. I was cutting it up for a party, and it was cold, and it was crisp, and it was perfect. I was hungry and I was thirsty. Like I said, I had just run 20 plus miles. And after I ate it, I decided to cut another wedge and put it on the food scale. And I was so sad to see that one watermelon of this size is 2,000 calories. So I had eaten about 600 calories worth of watermelon. Granted, I had plenty of calories to eat because I had run 20 some miles, but I would not have selected to eat 600 calories of watermelon. And I believe that the sugars were in the 60s. So balance is not what you thought all these years. We were raised with have your fruits, your grains, your proteins, your vegetables, and your dairy on your plate. Your balance, your mission for balance is the trifecta. And furthermore, like I said, when you are going through the meals and you're wanting to try something new, you wanting to make a substitution, um, make sure if it is an essential ingredient, if it's the protein, sub it out for another protein. Don't make the mistake that I made years ago, where I started taking the chicken off my salad and saving the 200 calories for the end of the day, so that I can have, 200 calories worth of Tootsie Rolls. It's not a calorie for a calorie. Make sure you have your protein, your complex carb, and your healthy fat in each one of your meals, and you are going to make health. So focus on that for month one, and whatever you do, you are to text me if you get confused, if you get frustrated, reach out if you want to take advantage of a mentor. The mentors are going to be there as an extra support for you. They're not there for the fact of taking over my job. You'll work with both of us. So if you are interested in a mentor, by all means, request one, and you can do that right on the site. But your focus for month one is that trifecta. All right, guys. So here we go. And if you have questions, let me know. There you go. I want to teach you to. I'm going to kill the box. Yep. I'm going to kill. Yeah. Go back. Sit down. Look at that. Can you guys see it? I'm in the middle of a presentation right now. Sit. Sit.